जय हिंद, जय भारत एंड वेलकम टू डेफ टॉक्स। दिस इज आदि अचिंत। देखिए, हमारे साथ हैं अरिंदम साहब, जो काफी टाइम के बाद, आई थिंक दो तीन हफ्ते के बाद आए हैं वापस। सो स्पेशल
Yeah.
वेलकम टू हिम। थैंक यू सो मच फॉर जॉइनिंग इन। एक जो सब्जेक्ट आज
Thank you.
डिस्कस
Thank you
करने
for
वाले
having
हैं
me.
हम लोग एक जो सब्जेक्ट हम लोग डिस्कस करने वाले हैं आज, इट इज अ लिटिल डेंजरस, इट इज अ लिटिल कंसर्निंग। हमने आज देखा ही है कि टेररिस्ट अटैक एक रजौरी में ऑलरेडी हो गया है। एंड मेरे को जो बात करनी है कि यार, हमास का आफ्टर इफेक्ट्स दिख रहे हैं हमको। वी हैव सीन आईसिस मॉड्यूल्स बीइंग फाउंड। एज अ मैटर ऑफ फैक्ट, कल एक बड़ी जबरदस्ती न्यूज आई थी कि एक आईसिस का बंदा, आईसिस अफिलिएटेड, क्या आप जो मर्जी कह लो उसको, आई डोंट वांट टू गेट इनटू द नेम कॉलिंग ऑफ इट, बट उसको पकड़ा गया। ही हैड अ प्लान ऑफ यूजिंग 40 ड्रोन्स फॉर अटैक।
Drones, yeah.
सो दैट वाज अ लिटिल हैवी। एंड आज भी कुछ एक आदमी को पकड़ा है। देयर इज सम न्यूज व्हिच हैज कम आउट, बट पूरी तरह से वो खुला नहीं है। सो देयर इज ऑब्वियसली सम अंडरकरंट जो हमास से भी इंस्पायर हुआ होगा। सो लेट्स सी व्हाट ही हैज टू से अबाउट दिस। क्या इनका थॉट प्रोसेस है सर का? एंड लेट्स ट्राई एंड डिग इनटू दिस कन्वर्सेशन, स्पेशली टू द फैक्टर कि हमको किन चीजों पे थोड़ी नजर रखनी पड़ेगी। सो नमस्कार, वंस अगेन, गुड इवनिंग, वेलकम टू द शो।
Namaskar. Good evening. Good to be back after a brief bout of disappearance. Uh, coming back to the fact, uh, uh, coming back to the fact of ISIS, Adi, I've been doing a little bit of digging around, and I found out that, of course, there are several South Asian sites, research sites, and all. जिसमें थोड़ा बहुत मैंने देखा, इधर उधर झांका. India has traditionally been a low recruitment zone for ISIS. 2000 ये हाँ कुछ डेटा है मेरे पास. 2014 का फर्स्ट डेटा है. 2014 में 16 people were reported to have been recruited. 2015 में 19. 2016 में वो थोड़ा बढ़ के चला गया 54. 2017 में it came down to 34. 2017 के बाद डेटा नहीं है, प्राइमरली बिकॉज एक तो वो 20-22 का डेटा नहीं आएगा कोविड के लिए. Whereas Al Qaeda has 1100 operatives. ISIS recruitment runs around in the area of 100, 150, 110, 125 ऐसा कुछ. Now, there is a very interesting thing that I would want to point out here. वो मैंने तुमको वो ट्रायंगल भेजा था, वो क्लार्क मैकिले का, वो है क्या? You have it with you? Those two triangles that I'd send across to you on WhatsApp.
Yeah, it's just getting uploaded. It'll be there with you on the screen in a minute.
Okay.
हाँ जी.
So this is a triangle. This is a set of triangle which has been prepared by Clark Makile and Sofia Moskalenko. Okay, to mark the areas of radicalization and कैसा कौन सा stage में होता है. The reason why I want you to put up that pyramid is because वहाँ पे ना 3 stages में अपने को यहाँ पे बहुत मिलेंगे. फोर्थ स्टेज में, विच इज द एपेक्स, विच इज द टिप ऑफ द पिरामिड, आपको ज्यादा नहीं लोग मिलेंगे. ना देयर इज अ रीजन बिहाइंड इट, जो वो एक बार वो थोड़ा अपलोड हो जाए उसके बाद वी कैन टॉक अबाउट.
एक second, it is just, I don't know, my system is just taking a bit time. Or I upload 1 second. By the time, guys, may I just request everybody, यार, please like the video. That is most critical. जैसे मैं हमेशा बोलता हूँ, there is no question. By the way, just as a public service announcement, I have finally received my recognition from YouTube. तो वो
YouTube,
सर्टिफिकेट अभी यहाँ पर लग जाएगा थोड़े टाइम में. Alright, here it is processing. Goal. When the systems have to work, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
But in any case, guys, like the video, like. Let's see the likes flowing. Okay. Pehla triangle is up.
Okay. So the नीचे वाला triangle, the नीचे वाला हिस्सा is politically inert, and they are inert people, and they are basically normal people. You could call them normal people. उसके बाद वाला लेवल में आता है that they acknowledge that there is a problem, that there is a kind of a oppression, or call it whatever. There is a thing which is going on around in the world against Muslims. These would come as activists. उसके ऊपर जो आएगा, they would say that yes, jihad is something which is right. Jihad is something which should be waged. They are radicals. फाइनली एकदम टॉप लेवल में आता है गाइज who would think that it is my moral right to wage a jihad. It is my moral right to be a part of that jihad. आइसिस का इंटरेस्टिंग सा बात जो है इंडिया में रिक्रूटमेंट कम क्यों है, ये लोग ना थर्ड स्टेज में जाके अटक गए. इसके लिए फाइट करने के लिए आइसिस वो सीरिया में लेवांट में जाने वाला लोग बहुत कम है. जैसे मैंने बोला कि रिक्रूटमेंट बहुत कम है. देयर आर अ फ्यू रीजंस. नाउ ये दिस गाय व्हाट्स हिज नेम जो अरेस्ट हुआ, अचान क्या नाम है उसका, साकिब व्हाट, हाँ. तो ये साकिब अरेस्ट हुआ है एंड इसमें ना देयर इज दिस ISIS, what I feel is ISIS is trying to change their propaganda. ISIS is trying to change their narrative. I'll tell you why they are trying to do that. But before that, ये थोड़ा सा sense बनाने के लिए I'm giving you a background. But coming back to my original point that why was India not a very good recruitment ground for ISIS? Point number one is India में ना ISIS का recruitment तुम देखोगे जहाँ पे भी होता है political vacuum होता है, ISIS का recruitment बहुत जबरदस्त होता है वहाँ पे. इराक में when they sort of demolished the Baath Party, United States walked in. They demolished the Baath Party. They created naturally the Shia brigade with the help of Muqtada al-Sadr and all. They got their mental, support and everything from Iran, and they created their own party. And Shia suddenly came to power, and they were anyway in a huge number in Iraq. This Baath Party guys didn't have anything to do. Later on, they created a kind of a they were a bulk of recruitment. They formed a bulk of recruitment for the first batch of ISIS. So ISIS gets created whenever there is a vacuum. Syria mein ISIS aaya tha because there was this civil war which was being waged and Assad was winning at some places, Assad was losing at some places, some people were frustrated. मतलब कुछ एक लोचा चल रहा था. अफगानिस्तान में the same way you have that Khorasan province wala ISIS that has come again because Afghanistan mein there is a transition of power going on. There is not much clarity on what's going to happen. So wherever there is a political vacuum, you got a ISIS that thrives there. Fortunately, India mein Muslim representation is institutionalized through party politics. यहाँ पे बहुत सारे parties है that represent different areas of interest of Indian Muslims. That is one reason. Reason number two is ISIS का तुम अगर if you look at the pattern of people that had traveled from different parts of Europe and Canada and United States, etc., to join ISIS, these are typically first world people who are basically bored with their life. कुछ नहीं है, everything is provided for. यहाँ पे again, you could call it fortunately, you could call it whatever. India में the youth, the ISIS pool of possible recruitment का जो pool है, that is not as bored as an average European is. Okay, why? Because he is employed. अब वो meaningful employment कर रहा है, वो कोई 2 नंबर ही कर रहा है, वो कोई दुकान में बैठा है, is he running a scam, whatever he could be doing, he is employed. Okay, so that's the second point. The third point is यहाँ पे thanks to अपना bureaucracy and police verification and all, there are 1,000 passport rejections that happen. So even if you've got a set of people that want to travel to a Syria or to Iraq, they don't have a passport. Okay. So this is one place where Indian bureaucracy, वो dead clock showing the right time twice a day वाला कहानी Indian bureaucracy का यहाँ पे है. 1,000 चीज होता है. Passport reject कर देते हैं. Police verification is a problem. So if this guy is engaged, let's say in a call center, वो tech support वाला 2 नंबर ही काम करता है, वो पुलिस वेरिफिकेशन के लिए वो जाएगा नहीं. मान लो उस पे अभी जुनून सवार हो गया कि हमको आईसिस ज्वाइन करना है, पासपोर्ट भी आ गया, पुलिस के वहां पे कैसे जाएगा? पुलिस बोलेगा अरे तू वही है ना जो वहां पे कॉल सेंटर चलाता है, चलो इसको भेजो, घुसाओ अंदर. So he cannot go. So there is another thing which is there is Indians and the Southeast Asians, basically Thai and Myanmari people, they ask a lot of questions. Now this came in as a very interesting topic that ISIS का 6 stages है, which they explain in their website and in their propaganda material and so on and so forth. Final stage में they talk about complete takeover of the entire planet. This is where अपना Indian तो होता है थोड़ा सा सवाल जवाब करने वाला, this is where a lot of Indians and a lot of Southeast Asians over the years have asked questions about how exactly are you planning to take over the world? Let's suppose we go, let's suppose you recruit us, we reach in Syria and Levant in large numbers, we establish a caliphate there. अभी वहां पे भी थोड़ा स्प्रेड कर दिए. नाउ द फैक्ट दैट यू थिंक टॉकिंग ऑफ टेकिंग ओवर द वर्ल्ड, हाउ डू यू प्रपोज टू डू दैट? एंड इसका जवाब आईसिस के पास नहीं रहता है. The handlers have not been able to provide satisfactory response to these questions. So that has also pulled out a lot of people. Another point is these people are not hardwired for warfare like a let's say an average Pashtun, like an average Afghan is. So अफगानिस्तान में तुम देखोगे आईसिस का रिक्रूटमेंट बहुत होता है. Okay, that is one of the reasons why ISKP has managed to establish a base after these people were you're thrown out of Syria.
Managed to
India
or made to?
It has been made to, yes. उसमें भी आ रहा है. Probably that is the reason why there's this sudden interest of ISIS in India, sudden surge of ISIS in India. आहिस्ता आहिस्ता उस पे बोलेंगे. Okay. Another major point ISIS में recruitment का problem is because of racism. Okay. इंडिया से जो भी गया उसको बाथरूम साफ कर रहा है, उसको फ्रंट लाइन पे भेजा नहीं, उसको कुछ काम नहीं दिया. Indians have gone, Bangladeshis have gone, and they have been made to clean the washrooms.
2-3 दिन पहले ही आया था ना न्यूज एक ऐसी किसी का.
हाँ,
केरला से बेचारा गया था, वो उसका था एक साकिब करके कोई बंदा था, उसको बेचारे को वहां लेके गए एंड ही सेड यार मैं तो कुछ करा ही नहीं वहां पर, मेरे को या तो सब्जी कटवाते थे या बाथरूम साफ कराते थे.
चलो सब्जी कटवाना तो भी फिर भी थोड़ा सा आप ऑनेस्ट ये है काम है, लेकिन बाथरूम साफ कराता है. अच्छा, द ओनली प्लेस, ये जो 100 odd recruitment of ISIS has happened, the only place from where ISIS has gone, these guys have gone in larger numbers, Kerala, which is like about 53-55 people have been, have gone to Kerala. Again, explains communist state, employment का कुछ चक्कर नहीं है, thoroughly bored people. Okay. And probably they have got a lot of Gulf influence also, जिसके कारण वो क्या है. Now, first stage में ISIS was a very strict geographic entry. They were Levant and Sham and all ISIL वो जैसे था. अभी क्या हुआ? अभी तो they were doing extremely well because अपना uncle was sheltering them. आईसिस का माइल लॉन्ग कॉन्वॉयज जो होता था वो टोयोटा पिकअप ट्रक्स का, वो शायद अंकल साम को दिखता नहीं था. ओके, एंड दिस इज वन ऑफ माय पेट पॉइंट्स दैट आई कीप पुटिंग अक्रॉस व्हेनेवर आई एम राइटिंग समथिंग कि यार मेरा आई मूवमेंट तुम वीडियो कैमरा से देख लोगे. What is my eye movement on my laptop screen so that you can hit me with products and you can't spot a mile long convoy of a Toyota pickup truck of a number of Toyota pickup trucks in an open desert and you expect us to believe it. तो ये तो इसका जो चक्कर ये अच्छा चल रहा था. सीरिया का ऑयल फील्ड से ऑयल उठाओ और उसको तुम टर्की में सप्लाई करो, वहां एर्दोगान साहब अपना बैठा है, वो ऑयल खरीदेगा. अगर कुछ छोटा मोटा लफड़ा हो गया, somebody gets injured, you treat them in a Jordanian or in an Israeli hospital, वापस इसको लेके आ जाओ और दुनिया को बोलते रहो कि we are fighting ISIS. झमेला कब शुरू हुआ? When Putin started bombing these bastards. Okay, 2015, I think September. Yeah, when Russia gets into Syria. So when Russia gets into Syria, there's this real trouble that starts brewing for ISIS, post which, give another 1-2 years, ISIS suddenly ceased to exist. Okay, now these guys were very carefully, when Russia was doing irreparable damage to these people, they were very carefully picked and they were very, very carefully scattered all around wherever they could. So a lot of them were transported to Afghanistan. A lot of them were transported to Central Asia, Uzbekistan. Central Asia explains because Central Asia is the underbelly of both China and Russia, and Central Asia में तो US का बहुत दिन से इंटरेस्ट है, बहुत साल से इंटरेस्ट है, 100 साल से ज्यादा हो गया. अभी you look at, you know it. Afghanistan में now what happened is then ISIS became post geography. This round में, second round में, ISIS का जो डेरा था, जो मेन जो वो लोग का ठेक था, which was Syria and Iraq, they suddenly are not there in Syria and Iraq and they have scattered all around. Now this is an interesting analogy that comes to mind, which is post Afghanistan Al Qaeda. Al-Qaeda
Okay.
initially, this guy was क्या नाम है उसका, bin Laden was influenced by Abdullah Azam, and all these things
Yeah.
started happening in Afghanistan. When Afghanistan war ended, CIA lost its interest, the money stopped coming. There were these thousands of jihadis who had guns and who were rearing for a fight, and they suddenly did not have anything. That was the time when Al Qaeda created itself, and Al Qaeda was never an outfit. Al Qaeda was always a base. अभी का अपना जो है ना Google Marketplace, you've got a distributor who is selling his product. You've got me and you who are buyers who are buying their product. Google is just providing a platform. Al Qaeda is the first, you could say, offline platform like that. So you have an idea, you want to bomb a few buildings, you apply
Come
there,
learn.
you will always no, and you will always find somebody who's going to fund you. You don't have to be a card carrying member of our party, of Al Qaeda. You just put your idea across. If it could be a lone wolf attack, it could be a bunch of 4 or 5 guys who are planning a Fidayeen attack. Whatever it is that you want to do, you want guns, you want paisa, you want whatever support, we are going to provide you. So Al Qaeda, interestingly, is the first outfit, for the lack of better word, that sort of liquified jihad. Now, this is a term which I use. I call it liquid jihad, following Zygmunt Bauman's philosophy of liquid modernity. That pehle institutions used to be solid, and then later on liquefaction of it happened. So there were no values, and liquid eats into solids, and they melt solid in the long run. But times are such that, this is the gist that I'm trying to give you. Times are such that things are going to be liquid from now on, and which has actually gone into the identity business. Identity भी liquid हो गया है, institutions भी liquid हो गया है, तो jihad भी liquid हो गया है. अब liquid jihad हो जाने से क्या हो गया है? Now there is suddenly no head to cut off. Osama bin Laden died. पिछले मतलब, और मरने के 5-6 साल पहले से भी तो वो अपना बेकार बैठा था, कोई काम का तो नहीं था. But has the idea of Al Qaeda died? No. Al Qaeda is still creating a lot of problem. Now, why I am giving you so much of a background, or why I'm trying to give the viewers so much of a background, is that ISIS is now trying to copy the Al Qaeda module. So now, पहले जब आइसिस का प्रोपेगेंडा होता था, यू सी दैट देयर प्रोपेगेंडा हैज चेंज्ड. पहले जब आइसिस का प्रोपेगेंडा होता था, आइसिस का प्रोपेगेंडा यूज्ड टू बी ISIL, अल शाम एंड लिवांत पे कैलिफेट बनाना है. सो यू गाइस कम हियर, यू गाइस फाइट. They couldn't get much of an interest from Kashmir. They couldn't get much of an interest from India. Why? Because the idea of jihad for these people is very provincial. They don't want to go there. Kashmir is a political deadlock. Okay, Kashmir में इंडिया का इंटरेस्ट है, कश्मीर में पाकिस्तान का इंटरेस्ट है, कश्मीर में देयर इज अ सेक्शन ऑफ कश्मीरी पीपल जिसका अपना इंटरेस्ट है फॉर आजाद कश्मीर और व्हाटएवर यू कॉल इट. कि ना हमको पाकिस्तान चाहिए, ना हमको इंडिया चाहिए, हमको कश्मीर चाहिए. So there is very little political space to sort of create your own propaganda. That is why ISIS का फ्लैग तो तुमको वहां 2-4 मिल जाएगा, लेकिन ISIS का रिक्रूटमेंट तुमको वहां पे नहीं मिलेंगे. इंडिया में जो आइडिया है, इंडिया में अगेन the whatever little idea of jihad that these people have, whoever has it, is very provincial. जो भी करना है यहाँ पे करना है. That is why you won't find too many first round में, when I said that there weren't too many recruits for ISIS, वो. This is where this Saqib guy becomes very interesting. Because what do we find out? That he had created his own village. He had renamed his own village. उसको वो वहां पे 1 मिनट को यार फेसबुक क्या बोलते हैं, व्हाट्सएप को बंद करे तो साउंड आता रहेगा. वहां पे ही इज रीनेम्ड, ही इज कॉलिंग इन पीपल कि आप यहाँ पे आप नाउ, एंड दिस इज ऑल under the backup of ISIS. Parallelly, if you follow the change of, the change of क्या बोलते हैं उसको, propaganda, change of the communication method that ISIS is following is, ISIS अभी नहीं बोलता है कि यार इराक में और लिवांत में और सीरिया में हो. ISIS अभी बोल रहा है it is not territorial, it is about Islam. Why are they doing it? Because they have seen that they have failed to recruit people. अभी जहां मर्जी करो. So एक तो reason is they have failed so far in India. That is why they have changed their tactics to recruit. Number two is they are trying to go the Al Qaeda way, and they're trying to usher in their form of liquid jihad. Ki we are not going to be limited to a particular territory, which is Iraq or which is Syria. Now we are going to be in Afghanistan. We are already in Uzbekistan, so we are going to also be in India. जहां तक बैकअप का सवाल है, बस we have seen their movement right from the time that they were created in Iraq, in Syria. They have been backed up by certain very strong people, the usual suspect. You have uncle there, you have sultan here. Okay, these two people have been their kind of क्या बोलते हैं उसको, constant patrons ever since these guys started their business. तो ये साकिब को कहां से पैसा मिलता था? This is anybody's guess. So that's my opening statement
Paisa
as
is
far
not
as
the
this thing
chakkar.
is concerned. Now
Paisa
what?
is not the chakkar. पैसा इज नॉट द चक्कर. पैसा बिल्कुल चक्कर नहीं है. ऐसे चीज के लिए पैसा तो मिल
फिर
जाएगा, बहुत लोग मिलेंगे, स्पेशली इस टाइम पे बहुत लोग हैं देने को.
and I'm still saying why, because how can, like, paisa is not the chakkar, yes, definitely, but why are we so sure? Because we have seen a precedence in 2013 2014 where we have seen uncle and sultan supporting them constantly. Okay, so could we, you got a 24 का election coming, you, अच्छा ठीक है 24 का इलेक्शन का भी आप सोच लो, 24 का इलेक्शन में मान लो मोदी जी फिर से पीएम बन गए, so you have to have a plan of action for the next 5 years. That's also important ना, 24 के बाद भी तो सोचना है. And given the way this India alliance or whatever you call that stands now, frankly speaking, not many of us see a fair chance. I mean, many of us see even a remote chance of this guys coming. Fair chance to bhul jao. So if this is also so now if this is also dawned on the establishment, on the deep state, कि भाई ये तो फिर से आने वाला है, ये अगर फिर से आने वाला है तो उसके लिए तो प्लान बनाना है ना. So ऐसा साकिब और भी निकलेगा शायद.
बिकॉज जो मेरे को, आई मीन सी क्या होता है ना, अभी दो तीन चीजें हैं इसके बारे में हमको, which I wanted to actually bring about in this conversation. हमको ये भी समझना है कि जब ये लोग पकड़ा जा रहा है, what can we observe with that? Forget the factor कि ये लोग पकड़े जा रहे हैं. Let's kind of observe कि क्या हमको सीखने को मिलता है उसमें से. तो मेरे दिमाग में दो तीन पॉइंट है, and I'll leave you after that to kind of take it forward. सबसे पहले is the factor कि आपका काउंटर इंटेलिजेंस चल रहा है, ठीक है. There are times you are letting the guy be for a little bit so that आपको खुद थोड़ा information ज्यादा मिले, right? तो कभी कभार जो इंसिडेंट आपको दिखेगा या कोई पकड़ा जाएगा, काफी टाइम के बाद पकड़ा जाएगा, आफ्टर इज प्रीटी मच एस्टैब्लिश्ड. सो दैट इज सेकंड थिंग. थर्ड थिंग दैट आई वांट टू आल्सो से इज कि इनका जो मोडस ऑपरेंडी है इज गेटिंग वियर्डर एंड वियर्डर. ठीक है, ये ड्रोन्स इज अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग लेटेस्ट डेवलपमेंट. जो भी कह लो, अभी पाकिस्तान से इस तरफ आते थे, दिस इज इंटरनली सम गाइज ट्राइंग टू डू समथिंग व्हिच इज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. ऑल्दो ये चीज हमारी सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस ने ऑलरेडी फैक्टर इन कर रखी है, बिकॉज देयर आर एंटी ड्रोन सिस्टम्स, ये वो काफी चीजें आ गई हैं. चौथा आई वांट टू से इज द फैक्टर दैट इनका जो लोकल एरिया नेटवर्क है, यू नो, देयर इज समथिंग दैट वी नीड टू फाइंड आउट अबाउट दैट. तो ऑब्वियसली इंटेलिजेंस एजेंसीज की बात होगा, पीपल लाइक यू एंड मी विल नॉट नो अबाउट इट. सो लोकल एरिया नेटवर्क पे कॉन्सेंट्रेट करना पड़ेगा. वी नीड टू नो व्हाट इज द गेम. एंड लास्टली is the factor that if you look at what this guy did, वो जो महाराष्ट्र में इसने जो करा है, वहां पर भी although concerning, but the amount of people were pathetic. कोई 20-25-30 लोग थे वहां पर टोटल. एंड अभी जो इन्वेस्टिगेशन फर्स्ट वो निकल रहा है, hardly anybody people knew what the hell was going on there. ऊपर झंडे झंडे लड़ा के हुआ करते थे, उसके बाद they couldn't really fathom हुआ क्या यहाँ पर. So fair enough, these guys came under some pretext, ये वो and all that. You can always belau puslao people. You remember those cultists in America at one time, you know, they already got people to commit suicide en masse. तो ये सब तो होगा. What do you comment about what we are doing currently and their tactics. You spoke about it little bit. Tactics के बारे में आपने बात करी है थोड़ा सा और let's kind of dig into it a little bit.
As far as NIA is concerned, NIA is doing a fab job. So ये तो मतलब that is the reason why we are here today having this conversation, because you've got those guys. Okay, so credit where due. The immediate next question and a related question is then, what was the Maharashtra police doing? That's one question. So there has been, like, while at one end there has been intelligence success, at the other end there has also been an intelligence failure. Okay, I mean, I look at it this way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Point number two is because see, ho sakta hai. I mean, even if I consider your point that you're giving these guys enough rope so that they can hang themselves, but at the end of the day, एक बात तो ये भी है ना कि you are creating a liberated zone, you're creating apparently a free space where there is a different name, where there's a different set of rule and blah blah blah, and the whole thing that is going on there is going on there for God knows how many months. And this here is a guy who's been put into jail for I don't know how many, 2 times, 3 times. Each time he has managed to come out after 5-7 years. So where has your assessment gone wrong? This question goes to the police people.
Yeah.
As far as this support structure is concerned, boss Adi, I told you that ये एक है, अभी पता नहीं आगे जाकर कितना निकलेगा, because I was watching an interview. Yeah. I was watching an interview of this guys, वो जो लेके तो चला गया, मान लो ये साकिब को लेके चला गया तो गांव में 2-4 लड़का रह गया है. They are absolutely fine with this guy. They are absolutely fine with the idea that they are 110% confident कि यार ये इसके घर में पैसा नहीं था, ये जबरदस्ती करके रखा है. नाम हम किसी ने चेंज नहीं किया है. We are just going about our days, minding our own business, when you guys suddenly decide to pop in and when you guys suddenly decide to make unlawful arrests. So you got a whole ecosystem which is defending him, which is usual, because that's where the recruitment pool comes in handy. And given the fact that, again, not the NIA but the police, if a Maharashtra police has allowed this to happen, for the want of a better word, the other states police could allow that to happen. So you see one cell in Maharashtra, you can see another cell in Karnataka tomorrow, another cell in somewhere else tomorrow. Okay. So the thing is, there is one section of the intelligence which is working overtime. There is another section of the intelligence which is probably sleeping. That's what I find out of this entire episode.
That's pretty hard hitting, actually, I must say. Dusra, I mean, what do you say to the factor that you saw what Hamas did, okay? And we see this whole curve of I'm saying कि भाई नया radicalization, okay? पूरी दुनिया में दिख रहा है. UK, आज एक massive terrorist attack has taken place in Prague. Open-ended बंदे ने गोलियां चलाई हैं in the middle of a university. तो incident like that. Rajouri में जो incident है, it's a little different than that, because ये you can put it in the broad same category, but थोड़ा सा अलग है वो, क्योंकि there's a history, ये वो काफी उसमें कचरा है. तो it's not, this has a ecosystem already set, correct? जो कश्मीर में होता है उसका एक ecosystem already set है. जो कहीं और हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं उसमें ecosystem literally create होता है, right? तो वो अपना एक local ecosystem बनाता है and all that. So इसका जो हमास का आफ्टर इफेक्ट है, ये थोड़ा मेरे को, I mean, this kind of because जिस तरह के वीडियोस वहां से दिख रहे हैं, जिस तरह के all that stuff is coming out, this to me is a little concerning. What do you kind of see here?
See, Hamas is going to have a bad effect or whatever effect, depends on whichever angle you're viewing it from. Hamas is going to have an effect, but Hamas ke saath technically to link ISIS would be a fetch for me, because again, if you follow ISIS, ISIS has never been interested in Hamas because ISIS has had a very क्या बोलते हैं उसको blinker driven agenda. And if what we are guessing is actually right, that the backers of ISIS are who, if they actually are who we think they are, then ISIS is not going to be interested in anything that Hamas does, because then what Hamas is doing is Hamas is actually fighting against the backers of ISIS in the law, in a indirect fashion. Okay. जहां तक हमास का सवाल है एंड हमास का इफेक्ट का सवाल है, दिस इज अगेन गॉट टू डू, दिस इज अगेन वेरी लोकल. सो Indian cell which is radicalized, an Indian cell which is a sleeper cell which is slowly getting radicalized, like this village, okay, this Al Sham wala village, where people are being brought in, people are being recruited and they are being indoctrinated and all. ये लोग अपना इनिशिएटिव में वो लोग को थोड़ा और क्या बोलते हैं उसको, और पंप अप करने के लिए, और बूस्ट करने के लिए they'll bring in Hamas and all. And I believe in the longer game, ISIS doesn't mind that, again, because they have sort of liquidified and they have sort of diluted their main agenda now. They are absolutely okay with any geography as long as it's for Islam that you're doing. So this Hamas thing influencing people people are going to get influenced, but Hamas influencing people is going to be, मतलब वो तुमको पर्सनल लेवल पे कितना इन्फ्लुएंस कर रहा है, मुझे पर्सनल लेवल पे कितना इन्फ्लुएंस कर रहा है. Is this Hamas thing being institutionalized right now? Not yet. Would this be institutionalized in future? We have got every reasons to believe, because one name, Muslim Brotherhood. They look for incidents like this, and especially when we talk about Europe, and especially when we talk about North America, and we have seen what is happening in Europe. We have seen what is happening in Canada and in parts of USA as well, as far as this pro-Hamas rallies and the subsequent riots and subsequent problems are concerned, chaos is concerned. So they are going to be, जहाँ पे institution है पहले से, they are going to use it. They're going to use it to the best advantage, and the person that are going to use it is probably Muslim Brotherhood. As far as Hamas's influence in India is concerned, they would probably be taken up by a couple of political parties in the long run. But अभी का जो लड़का लोग जो वहां पे मिला है, जिसमें हमास का फ्लैग्स मिले हैं and all, this I think is their own local initiative as of now.
Now there is also, I mean, ऐसी बात नहीं है, the country is doing counter action, because हमको पता है JNK में especially ये रोहिंग्यास के ऊपर कुछ ना कुछ clearance activities have started. इनके काफी सारे अभी वो आधार कार्ड पकड़े जा रहे हैं लेफ्ट राइट एंड सेंटर. यू कैन सी दैट हैपनिंग. सो जब आपको ये दिखता है, यू कैन मेक आउट दैट देयर इज अ क्लियरेंस एफर्ट व्हिच इज टेकिंग प्लेस, कि भाई कहीं ना कहीं वी नीड टू देयर इज समथिंग व्हिच इज हैपनिंग एट द बैक. जो हमको ऑब्वियसली गवर्नमेंट आके ये नहीं बोलेगी, पता है हम लोग ना सारे आधार कार्ड ना रीचेक कर रहे हैं. यू कांट, दैट्स नॉट गोना हैपन.
Obviously,
ठीक है. तो हाँ, तो देयर इज समथिंग, there is something which is happening at the back end that we make out.
Yeah, some things. In fact, there's a lot of things happening. Probably, I said there's something afoot. कुछ तो हो रहा है.
So let's talk about that. क्या क्या दिखता है हमको? I don't want to open out any government secrets or anything like that. मेरा वो काम नहीं है. But what do we see happening and what are the actions? क्योंकि one is रोहिंग्या के ऊपर, जम्मू में there is already counting and this and that is already started up. दिल्ली में मैंने सुना है काफी चीजें हुई हैं. बैंगलोर में कुछ चीजें हुई हैं, and in Chennai some things have happened, and in one other place I was reading in Assam में तो obviously there's a lot which is happening in that area. So what else do you see happening in this regard to kind of identify the problem, the people, and क्या कुछ आपको दिखता है, कुछ एक स्ट्रक्चर बनता हुआ सिक्योरिटी के बारे में?
देखो, स्ट्रक्चर तो अभी तक I wouldn't say, because I don't have an idea, as you also said that we don't have an idea what these guys are planning to. But what I can understand is this is a very delicate situation. This is a very delicate path that actually you should tread on. Why? I'll tell you. It is, you've got to take it as smoothly and as क्या बोलते हैं उसको, as delicately, again going back, as delicately as possible for a large number of reasons. एक तो है यार, you are always this far away from a riot. कुछ भी हो जाए तो
Hmm.
riot शुरू हो जाएंगे कहीं. That's one thing. I mean, we might be irritated, you and I might be irritated, viewers might be irritated, but the fact is that a government has to take this into account, and the government has to preempt a riot-like situation wherever they can, whenever they can. Okay, they have to kid glove sort of thing this entire approach.
It's
Point
a
number two
balancing. That's
is
the whole thing. Yeah.
it's a very delicate balancing act. Okay, you have to clean out the Rohingyas. You cannot do it very suddenly. You cannot do it very abruptly. You cannot cross a certain threshold because these guys have their political clouds. You would have 1,000 parties descending onto the street. Okay. Second point is why you need to treat this very delicately is going back to the point why ISIS was not very successful in their first round of recruitment in India is because these guys over here call them provincial with their idea of whatever jihad they have, call them employed. They are not as bored as a normal European guy is who wants to kill to have some action. They are not as bored. But these reasons that I had said, there's political representation. These guys have some mode of employment, whether it's black employment, whether it's white employment, forget it. These guys ask a lot of questions. These guys have reasons to be excited about their life. कुछ भी जो भी reason हो, these have all been possible because of this unique system called India, called Bharat. You have to be very careful to see that you maintain this. You know, that section of people who still are probably today indifferent about ISIS remain indifferent about ISIS while you go about making your arrests and your detention and whatever you have to do, those solid reasons, and be very careful that you don't go overboard in enthusiasm, because then again, as I said, you are always this close, this far away from a riot like situation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
strategy, to अगर आप पूछो आदि, तो strategy ideally यही होना चाहिए. You go ahead, but you
It's a very
go
good
real
point.
slow, real delicately.
Very good point. I think that's a very good point. Very good point. Also, lastly, मैं आपसे पूछूंगा, our first conversation, अर्षा जी के साथ जो हमने पहला conversation किया था, that we three did a show, and उसके अंदर हमने
Yeah.
बात करी थी about the models. ठीक है, हमने देखे थे दुनिया में 3-4 मॉडल्स हैं to deal with this particular issue, and हमने आइडेंटिफाई करे थे वो मॉडल्स. एक था द इजरायली मॉडल, ठीक है. दूसरा एक हमने देखा था, there's a Chinese model. Of course, I don't want to even get into that. That's horrible. I mean, you can't be as bad as
Yeah.
the people who are. तीसरा है द रशियन मॉडल, ठीक है. लॉन्ग लास्टिंग, बहुत टाइम लगा लेकिन
Yeah.
established है.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Oh yes.
and the and the fourth one is our model. Today मेरे हिसाब से, and उस टाइम पे आपने एक चीज बोला था कि हमारा इतना कुछ मॉडल नहीं है.
Do we, do
Somewhere
we
down
have
the
a
line,
model? Yeah, I remember.
you had questioned that. Somewhere down the line, when I look at the incidents in Israel, ठीक है, and I'll just take 30 seconds more. मैं
Oh,
जब
please.
इसराइल में देखता हूँ, इसराइल में देखता हूँ क्या हो रहा है. When I look at what is happening in China, and not what the Chinese are doing, by the way, उनके अगेंस्ट में जो ग्रुप्स खड़े हुए हैं आज, लिटरली बॉर्डर फेंस पकड़ के, उनके ETIM ये वो काफी सारे हैं वहां पर, दे रेयरिंग टू गो. तो मेरे हिसाब से चाइना इज नॉट गॉन थ्रू दिस साइकिल एज ऑफ नाउ, एंड वहां पर कुछ ना कुछ होता रहता है, तभी चाइना का अटैक्स काफी ज्यादा होते हैं. अभी देव ब्रोकन सम 1300 मॉस्क्स, देव डन दिस दैट एंड द अदर, काफी कुछ करते रहते हैं लोग. सो देयर इज समथिंग ऑब्वियसली हैपनिंग इनसाइड चाइना जो हमको पता नहीं है. एंड रशिया में भी देखिए, दे आर ऑलवेज वरीड अबाउट, although their model has been successful in क्या बोलते हैं Chechnya and all that, but they are still worried about the Central Asian, तो बोलते हैं ना soft underbelly of Russia. So what do you say now with regards to a model that Bharat is kind of following? How do you kind of assess it? हमारे कुछ counter intelligence भी है, कश्मीर में भी there is a lot of stuff which is done. How do you kind of gauge the game today?
See, as far as I would still go with the Russian model to a large extent, because उसने 1950s 1990s में they sort of packed up and they disappeared. तो 1990 से लेके आज there's a good 30-40 years have passed, and 20-30 years have passed, and yet you have the local imams of the different state countries like Uzbekistan or Turkmenistan, etc., go and immediately report to the police if there is a hardcore Islamist preacher who happens to be around. Now, this is a behavior which is, I don't know how they managed to do it. They took 40 years, 50 years time. Probably they were
ज्यादा है
more
यार.
horrid than. हाँ, तो like अब फिर भी मैं 1920s से पकड़ रहा हूँ, 1920s से 1980s तक, which is a good 60 years time, yeah, because that's when the Bolshevik revolution and all happened and all, and then these became Soviet satellites, etc. But जो भी किया, where there was forcible education, there was re-education, there was forced industrialization. These people were made to work in sweatshops and all. कुछ भी हुआ, कैसे भी हुआ, there's not much coming out that from that part as far as this methods are concerned. But उसका effect, because they managed to keep a couple of generation insulated, उसका effect अभी भी चल रहा है. At the same time, I would question myself, and to this I don't have an answer, कि at the same time, would this be possible for Russia today amid so much of interconnectivity and internet and so on and so forth? It is probably not going to be possible for Russia today.
जो रशिया ने क्राइमिया में, सॉरी क्राइमिया नहीं, जो चेचनिया में 90s में किया था, इन द सेकेंड वॉर जो पुतिन ने किया था, आज उसका 1/10 इजराइल कर रहा है गाजा में, 1/10. एंड आप देख रहे हो क्या रिएक्शन है. So that's
yeah, so it's going to be, it would have been very difficult for Russia. What China is probably trying to take the most extreme section of what Soviet Union did at one point in time, and they're trying to reproduce it in an industrial scale, and you can understand the backlash eventually when that comes, that it comes. That leaves us with the question that, so what do we do? Do we stop? Because again, answering your question, this is India में क्या हुआ है? I mean, I would put this kind of thing कि आज इंडिया में ISIS का, for example, recruitment has been slow. This has got a lot to do with, does this have anything to do with India's planning? Probably not. Does this have a lot to do with luck? Probably yes. That's how I would look at it. Because in छोटा सा example, 1980s, 1970s, 1980s में when Afghanistan Jihad was happening, and you had a Pakistan with a history, and you knew that they were coveting Kashmir, and you knew that Kashmir में थोड़ा बहुत insurgency का problems है in the 80s. If you were a good planner, you would have anticipated that now that the Afghan jihad is over, there is going to be a spillover in Kashmir, which you did not anticipate. And thus, as a result, you have the 90s.
Absolutely.
Okay. So if you were a good planning kind of a system, if you had good planners in your system, then you probably would have planned for this contingency, which you did not. So did India plan to do this? We are going to keep we are going to prevent a political vacuum. We are going to keep these guys employed. We are going to keep these guys curious so that they ask a lot of questions, remain excited about their life. No, this has happened. As a model, if this was planned, this would have been excellent, probably top of the world.
Yeah. That's the point. I mean, we are too late in this whole game. Let me just say this. And whatever is happening right now, अब जैसे आप बोल रहे हो कि one intelligence agency is literally working overtime. Hats off to them.
They're working their ass off, and the other one is like, they don't know
and
which day of the week it is.
Those buggers are everywhere. आप नाम लो कहीं, वो NIA की जैकेट आपको मिल जाती है वहां पर. It's there.
Yeah.
And the best thing is they work from the shadows. We don't know who the people are. We don't know कौन है, क्या है, किधर है, ऑफिस किधर है, ये क्या है, वो क्या है. They don't come in ringing shiny cars with NIA written all over it. कुछ नहीं.
Yeah.
It's a quiet bloody organization. चुपचाप काम कर रही है. And I think that's a
That's
very
how it should
interesting.
be.
Yeah. It's doing a brilliant job, and I just like to say that I must say that that is a fantastic kind of work which is happening, because evidently there's no boom booms happening around the place. So obviously
Mm-hmm.
there's some amount of
There's a lot of
thing which is,
underwater paddling going on. Yeah.
yeah, which
Boom boom तो
which we
बंद ही हो
can't
गया
see, and I
जैसे.
think I mean, let it be like that. I don't want to know. It should not be in public realm also. चलो, let's get into some questions. थोड़े से सवाल जवाब कर लेते हैं आपके साथ भी. And guys, before we do, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and most importantly, guys, uh, spread the word about Dev Talks. Our target was 130. We are at 123 already. So we should be well on our way. But आपकी और थोड़ी मदद से पिछले अगले एक हफ्ते के अंदर 10 दिन के अंदर we have to gain about 7,000 subscribers. That's a lot.
So
So
that's
help me
your
out.
holiday
Spread the word.
season target.
Yeah, holiday season target. I had said 125, but the guy said नहीं 125 कम है, आप 130 रखो. मैं चलो ठीक है 130 रख लेते हैं. तो वो बोलते हैं ना ऑडियंस उससे
जनता जनार्दन.
Janta Janardan. We do it for the people only, so that's how it is. And guys, most importantly, if you can, please contribute to us Dev Talks efforts. You got the QR code up there. You can use PayPal. If you're staying outside the country, the link is in the description. You can become a member, for which the link is in the description, or you can send super stickers or super chats. Let's get into the question.
Let me wear chashma. Yeah.
Acha. Nikhil Sharma Saab, thank you so much firstly for becoming a member. And Hereshil Jadhav ji, thank you so much. He says, we were in Kurg, Madikeri in September 2023. We were going to our resort, and guess what? An open jeep with ISIS flag passed us. I was shocked to see what I just witnessed. I'm shocked to hear this, sir.
Yeah.
Any comments?
So these are, as I said, that you would see flags and all, like the way you saw ISIS flags in Jammu and Kashmir. In Kashmir, basically, not in Jammu, you would see ISIS flags. And there was a point in time where this was not much of a worry for us because the recruitment was down. But now, with this cell, with this Saqib guy, and the way he had started operating, and the localized version, yes, we have reasons to be a little worried right now.
It is. I mean, I was a little like, what? Say what? What did he do? Abhijit, you say, Adi, another attack in Poonch, ambush of a supply convoy during an operation. I'm starting to see a trend here. There is still thriving support on the ground. Your views? I won't call it thriving, but there's, I mean, your comments, I'll just add a little bit after that.
There is support. Of course, you need your logistics and all in order to mount such attacks and all. But is it thriving? Probably not. Again, when do we say something is thriving? Is when there is indiscriminate incidents such as these which have been happening. But if you've seen that these attacks have, over the past 10 years or so, the attacks have been very focused on a particular set of people and across a certain geography. There's not been too many bombs, and in fact, there's been zero bombs that have been going on. Okay. So, while at the same time, NIA uncovering one terror plot after the other terror plot after the other terror plot. So, yes, there is support there. But at the same time, we've got our agencies which have become more and more active. And as they have become more and more active, they are learning the game also. They're getting better at it. So that's the way I look at it.
Abhijit, I'll also add one thing. If you kind of understand the ground reality of Rajouri in that area, it's a hinterland area. It's some of these areas are ये घुसे हुए हैं under mountains, in valleys, very difficult to reach places. एक 4 घर का गांव मिलेगा आपको कहीं ना कहीं इधर उधर. तो ये जो टेररिस्ट होते हैं ना, ये लोग पहले तो some of them, most of them are, some of them are from here, some of them are from there, इधर उधर के होते हैं. जो लड़के स्पेशली इधर के होते हैं ना, जो लोकल कमांडर्स होते हैं या सीनियर हो जाते हैं, उनको पता है यार कहीं ना कहीं दे नीड टू हैव एन एस्केप हैच। जब वो अपना साइकिल खत्म हो जाएगा तो वापस आके कहीं घुसना है हमको। तो ये लोकल लड़कियों से शादी वादी कर लेते हैं वहां पर, वो हिंटरलैंड में जाके, ठीक है, एंड इट विल बी हिज सेकंड वाइफ और सेकंड हाफ वाइफ और व्हाटएवर इट इज। तो उससे क्या होता है ना, देयर इज ऑब्वियसली अ सर्टेन दैट इकोसिस्टम, छोटा सा एक इकोसिस्टम वहां पर डेवलप हो जाता है, एंड अ लॉट ऑफ दीस गाइज यूज दैट इकोसिस्टम टू काइंड ऑफ फर्स्ट कीप अ ट्रैक ऑफ क्या हो रहा है, and then they get the information and they're doing stuff. So when you say local support, it is not always voluntary support. अब ये you have to create a differentiation. कई चीजें होती है voluntarily आप वो उनको support करते हैं, there is no question about that. I'm not saying बिल्कुल नहीं है that, but some of them are forced also. You know, some on the लड़की गई हुई है, ठीक है, ये वो and all that. There's stuff like that, and these guys do it purposefully. You know, they'll get married to the women so that they can kind of pull the family after that कि भाई तू कर,
Extract, yeah.
you know. So there's well, you know, there's always these kind of stuff which will always take place. Anyways, let's move forward. Maitri ji says the attack on the army vehicle a Nuland effect. Victoria Nuland, my favorite lady. What do you say?
You want me to go?
No, yeah,
Not
please,
really.
please, please.
न्यूलैंड का इफेक्ट दूसरा जगह पे यूजुअली होता है, गिवन हर ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड एंड गिवन हर लेगेसी दैट शी लीव्स बिहाइंड. न्यूलैंड इफेक्ट takes place across in a different plane. Okay. Is this attack or probably the effect of this recent Pakistanis traveling to United States and meeting the who's who? Could be. You know, there's this lot of unknown gunmen killing a lot of people that is happening in Pakistan these days. This could very well be these people cleaning up their house because they are onto something new. What they are onto, we have no idea as of now. So this could be an effect.
So those of you who've not seen my hypothesis on what they're up to, please watch today's afternoon show, and don't take out the secret that I am the unknown gunman. Huh? Just a joke. Mayaji, when will the new criminal laws help in curbing the anti-national activities by local jihadis?
I
It'll
wouldn't
sure help
be able
punish
to answer this
faster.
question, Adi, because criminal laws.
I mean, if you just add a tertiary reading of that law, it'll show help punish faster. I don't know if it'll curb or deter, but it will punish faster. That's something I would say at the moment. What do you say?
I haven't gone through even the excerpts of it, so I wouldn't be able to comment on that. The
All
new
right,
criminal
fair
laws.
enough. Let's move forward. Desires in thought. Qatar funding them. You said the Shah and the uncle. So
फंडिंग हु? कतार का तो सब जगह पे हाथ है. सी, कतार इज अ वेरी
everywhere.
स्लाइमी क्रीचर. ओके, ये समझा करो यार. कतार को आप जहां पे बोलोगे वो वहां पे जाके, उसके पास बहुत सारा पैसा है, वो वहां पे जाके थोड़ा सा पैसा डाल देगा, बोलेगा बस इसके बदले में मुझे क्या मिलेगा टाइप्स. सो
Correct.
strategically, Qatar doesn't have that kind of a wherewithal, doesn't have that kind of a bandwidth to create such a mega strategy like an ISIS, which is completely probably created out in vacuum, but which was utilized as a kind of a third party warring machine by Uncle and by Sultan on Syria for their own benefits to steal Syrian oil. उसमें क्या हो गया, कतार हो सकता है कि कतार चला जाएगा कि सर मेरे लिए कोई काम है, आप बताओ, तो बोलेंगे हाँ ठीक है, तू वहां का स्पॉन्सर कर दे, तो वो कतार दे देगा. कुछ उससे ज्यादा कतार से कुछ एक्सपेक्ट मत करो. ओके, द वन हिट दैट कतार हैज प्रोड्यूस्ड इज अल जजीरा एंड इट हैज रिमेन देयर ओनली. उसके बाद कुछ खास दिखता नहीं
वो भी
कतार
because of the West. वो भी तो this Al Jazeera works with the CIA pretty closely.
या.
I'll take this one if you don't mind. Nikhil Sharma ji, ISI seems to have called in the US for de-radicalization because Pakistan YouTubes are criticizing Pakistani leaders and asking folks to learn from India. Two things in this. Firstly, there is nothing known as de-radicalization. You cannot kill an ideology. Okay, so whoever tells you that is wrong, because if you see Nazism जैसे एक जो ideology थी, उसको so called अमेरिका ने जी जान लगा के de-radicalize किया था. 75 साल के बाद एक यूक्रेन पूरा कंट्री है दोबारा से खड़ा हुआ है वो ही आइडियोलॉजी लेके. दूसरी चीज, पाकिस्तानी यूट्यूबर्स पे मैं बार बार ये चीज बोलता रहता हूँ, प्लीज टेक देम विद अ पिंच ऑफ सॉल्ट. दे आर ऑल प्लांट्स, दे ऑल आर देयर फॉर अ पर्पस. आप उनकी बातें सुनिए, ठीक है, दैट्स योर चॉइस. आई वुड रिकमेंड नॉट, बट जो भी वो बोलते हैं, डोंट टेक इट विद दिस थिंग, बिकॉज इट इज ऑल स्क्रिप्टेड एंड गिवन टू दीज गाइज. बोलना क्या है, ठीक है, दैट्स व्हाट आई वुड से. एंड दिस इंक्लूड्स पीपल लाइक who sit in America and talk pro India, and there are loads of this stuff. So जरा आप ध्यान से deal with these guys. Anything you'd like to add, sir?
There is one more thing about this Pakistani YouTubers कि एक चीज समझना पड़ेगा यहाँ पे आप लोग को. वो ये है कि पाकिस्तान में there are essentially two categories of people. One category is absolutely the lowest of the low, the bottom of the pyramid people, those who are not going to watch YouTube videos like that. Okay, they are going to watch indoctrination video of probably ISIS or Al Qaeda or whatever, Lashkar-e-Toiba. There's a lot of such parties there, a lot of such people there. But say you are a Pakistani, okay, the gentleman who's asked this question, say you are a Pakistani, you've gone to a good school, probably in a Dubai, you've had a decent education, you are, for whatever reason, you have come back to Pakistan, there is nothing available there, there's no job. You want to create your YouTube channel because or your Insta channel or whatever channel, and you want to monetize it. There's a lot of money in there these days. You've got a nice idea, but you cannot get down to the level of a Lashkar-e-Toiba. What are you going to do? You have to create content which caters to the maximum number of people. Pakistan में तो भाई है नहीं, तो कहाँ cater करेंगे? इंडिया में करो. So you would create content even if there's, considering that there's no one that has put a gun on your head and asked you to do content like this. तुम करोगे तो भी क्या करोगे? तुम इंडिया का जैसे कंटेंट बनाओगे कि इंडिया में तो 1 बिलियन आदमी बैठा है, कम से कम उसमें से 2 लाख देख ले. So that's also something which you'll have to keep in mind. There is an agenda there as well.
Yep. Are state policemen incompetent, or they're spending more times on things which are not relevant to the security of common man? Yeah, well, there's a third factor as well.
Bolo, since you've taken it up.
No, I'm just saying third factor is there's just not enough of them.
There's not enough of them. Yeah, there's not enough of them. There is a fair amount of incompetency also, but ये नहीं कि वो लोग को पता नहीं है. वो लोग को, I won't say that they know everything, but they know things fairly well. क्या हो रहा है, ट्रेंड वेंड का कुछ तो पता चलता है. The thing is, there's one more thing. Most of the times they are bogged down because of political pressures. तो ये भी समझना है आपको. I mean, you've got a police minister who's been elected by people, who's got no skin in the game. He's sitting there and he's judging you. And if he says a no, there's nothing you can do. So what would you do, even if you want to?
Is NIA getting a role akin to the US FBI, and local state police will be limited to maintaining order and not investigation?
No idea.
I hope it doesn't become the FBI, because the FBI is useless. They couldn't find a simple little laptop in their offices.
Yeah. वो तो अभी मत बोलो, तो इतना पॉलिटिकल बन गया है. They find everything in Donald Trump's house. They don't find anything in Hunter Biden's laptop.
Shame that country, yaar. I must say, sometimes I really wonder.
Batraji, America as a country, these people are very nice and all. It's the government. भगवान यार, कहाँ से ये government आ गया यार? मेरे को समझ में नहीं आता है. Anyway, बत्राजी कुछ पूछ रहे थे.
That's why we say vote wisely, guys. Are these quasi-militant radical group have a common agenda, or they have inter-group rivalry which can be exploited? That's a good question, Batraji.
Very good question. There is a lot of, जहाँ पे भी बत्राजी there is a solidified group presence, like in Pakistan, there is bound to be intergroup rivalry. That is the reason why ISIS had a lot of, I mean, people thought ISIS had a lot of promise in Pakistan, but ISIS couldn't do much in Pakistan, and they instead went and they settled in Afghanistan. And there also they've started fighting with the Taliban. So whenever you've got two solid institutionalized parties running with an agenda, there's bound to be clash, there's bound to be issues between them. And आईसिस का फॉर एग्जांपल आईसिस का अलकायदा के साथ आज भी प्रॉब्लम है. They are trying to copy the model of Al Qaeda probably now at this stage in this country, trying to usher in liquid jihad. But Al Qaeda remains very successful even today, and the ISIS doesn't have an answer to that. How to be successful like Al Qaeda? So yes, there is a conflict which is there. Can this be exploited? Oh my God, this would be. See, as long as there's a conflict somewhere, it can always be exploited.
Yes.
Okay. If there is a fault line, उसको तो देखो fault line को pressurize करके crack करा के तो हम लोगों को ब्रिटिश ही सिखा के गए ना. So yeah, if there's a conflict, you can always exploit that. Why not? And I think that should be the approach.
Absolutely.
No morality, boss. Geopolitics में कोई morality नहीं चाहिए. चलता है.
Parthaji asks, this conflict seems to be ever escalating with isolated flashpoints. It's called lateral escalation, linked to it globally. Where does this leave the BRI and IMEC?
BRI, IMEC तो चलता रहेगा.
Okay. IMEC के trials हो गए.
IMEC is that अपना वाला ना info वाला corridor, the spice route.
नहीं, अभी क्या हुआ ये रेड सी में कचरा हो रहा है ना, तो इजराइल जो इंपोर्ट कर रहा है हमारे से, the Dubai guys have said, yeah, you drop it to us, we will take it by road to Saudi, and Saudi will take it by rail to. They've already done it.
And there is one more thing which we are not noticing much, which is this corridor is also going to act as an info highway. Okay. Yeah. This is not just going to be a transport corridor. In fact, transport is going to they're going to create a small percentage of the volume of business that is going to happen through this highway. Large chunk of highway ka business aayega through information transfer. And that, I don't think, isolated flashpoints here and there is going to be can disrupt it much. Yeah. As far as Belt and Road Initiative is concerned, or the One Belt One Road project is concerned, वो भी तो थोड़ा अभी it's stalling basically, because you've got Europe, which is being again pressurized by Uncle to not participate in the One Belt One Road project. So Italy is thinking of pulling out of it. Then you've got Afghanistan, which is still a patch of problem. You've got Pakistan, which is now creating new version of headache for China. कि यार इतना दिन इमरान था, जो भी था अच्छा था, बुरा था, चल रहा था. China had an upper hand. कभी उसको मर्जी हुआ, कभी प्रोजेक्ट चालू किया, कभी मर्जी नहीं हुआ तो प्रोजेक्ट को स्टॉल कर दिया. Now Pakistan has completely shifted to the United States scam. This CPEC has come to a standstill. CPEC is a very important node of this BRI thing. Okay, because that opens in this warm water port, Gwadar जहाँ पे भी. CPEC तो पूरा स्टॉल हो गया. So BRI तो ऐसे भी प्रॉब्लम में फंसे हुए हैं. So isolated flashpoints, थोड़ा बहुत escalation इधर उधर, I don't think they are going to affect BRI much. We have to take a look at it when BRI operations resume, if they resume.
Venki Saab ask Arindam Pranam, your take on India's judicial apparatus infested by pro-leftist terror sympathetic advocates, more often willing to bail roaches out within minutes of hearing.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. I mean,
and we hope, honestly, Venki Saab stays abroad. I don't know if you had the opportunity to read the new bills. That probably is an effort towards doing it. I don't know how far it will be successful. Only time will tell, but at least something is moved.
ना आदि कंप्लीट करो, फिर हम थोड़ा सा एक लाइन ऐड करेंगे.
That's it.
See, एक चीज ये भी है ना, if I were to, I know probably a lot of people won't like it, like my saying. So if I were to give Indian judiciary a hint of a benefit of doubt, okay, देखो judiciary तो भी आदमी से बना हुआ होता है. Now, if you've got an ecosystem which has been there for the past 75 years and it is so damn strong that it is going to force you out of your bed in the middle of the night and ask you to do shit, you have to do it at times. And probably that is what has happened. So today, if a judge calls in for a hearing at 2 o'clock, I don't know. I would find it difficult to, again, devil's advocate. I would find it difficult to believe that the judge says, "Oh my God, let's get up. I'm so excited at 2 o'clock. Let's give this man a hearing." So chances कम है. हो सकता है किसी ने उसको फोन उठाया और उठा के बोला कि बस इसको करो नहीं तो प्रॉब्लम है. उसने बोला चलो ठीक है कर देते हैं. ये भी हो सकता है. And ये होने का chances बहुत है because you've created a very strong ecosystem over the past 70-75 years. They are going to extract their pound of flesh wherever it's possible. And now more so because they're not in power. पावर में रहता तो थोड़ा रिलैक्स होता. सो ये बात भी है. यू हैव टू कंसीडर प्रॉब्ली दैट एंगल एज वेल.
गुड पॉइंट. Rishikesh, second last question. Can you give a brief explanation on the Russian model, the time, situations, and methods, or can you give me a roadmap to read it yourself?
I can go through a couple of books and find out which covers it entirely properly. फिर I'll send a mail across to Aadi, or maybe if I have the book, I'll send it across to Aadi. Aadi can share with you, जैसे उसने पहले भी किया था.
Just put it in the comments, yeah. Just put it in the comments.
But comment में मैं PDF डाल सकता हूँ क्या?
आप मेरे को वो नाम दे दो. I'll highlight the comments there so people can read it. Yeah.
Okay,
but
I'll do
you know,
I'll do that.
Just as a this thing, ऐसे मेरे को अरिंदम जी ने पहले भी हमने डिस्कस किया है. प्लीज वॉच द फर्स्ट शो जो हमने किया है इसके ऊपर. इट्स अगेन ऑन टॉक्स ऑन इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी प्लेलिस्ट के अंदर है. आप देखिए उसके अंदर आई थिंक यू स्पोकन अ लिटिल मोर अबाउट व्हाट दैट मॉडल वाज. So if you want some details there, you can have a look there. And the last question, Mayaji, sir, there was an Aussie MP, civil engineer of Pakistan origin, who came to visit her Ammi in Pakistan during floods. She blamed Australia for it and asked Green Party peace, to which she belongs, to order Australia to pay for it.
Pay what? Pakistan floods?
Yeah, pay reparations or whatever, you know.
For what? For the floods? Okay, and I'm sure what, and ask Greenpeace party to pay for it, and I'm sure Greenpeace party क्या ऑस्ट्रेलिया का कोई पार्टी होगा. I'm sure they paid for it as well.
नहीं वो ये woke liberal party है ना.
अच्छा Greenpeace वाला, Greenpeace international वाला.
नहीं green parties are there in these all these western countries ना.
हाँ
जैसे वो जर्मनी में है ना, ग्रीन पार्टी थी, यहाँ पे भी है.
अच्छा पार्टी को बोला है क्योंकि पैसा कोई देगा तो वही देंगे.
मेरा एक कमेंट है इसके ऊपर. माया जी क्या करोगे यार अभी ये आपने यू नो आज मैं शाम को वो देख रहा था, स्मिता प्रकाश का इंटरव्यू था स्मृति ईरानी के साथ, यू नो. एंड सॉरी लेडीज, आई एम गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट दिस, जस्ट डोंट टेक दिस पर्सनली, बट एक वो जो एक उनको कमेंट आया था ना अबाउट विमेन्स हेल्थ. दे स्पोक अबाउट प्रोवाइडिंग मेंस्ट्रुअल कंफर्ट टू LGBTQA+ कम्युनिटी. जी रियली? और पार्लियामेंट में क्वेश्चन है ये जी.
बोलो.
सो क्या कहें अभी ये लोग थोड़े से बावले ही हैं, अब कुछ कर नहीं सकते इसके बारे में. दे वांट टू, आई मीन इट्स टेरिबल. एनीवेज, थैंक यू सो मच अरिंदम. आई थिंक आपने जो पहला वो बताया था, जो एक स्ट्रक्चर आपने बताया विद रिगार्ड्स टू the whole way and localization of the ISIS का thought process, I think that was very interesting. मेरे को I found that to be very insightful because एक ये जो आपने एक structure समझाया कि देखो यार, it can happen anywhere now rather than that geolocationary area, and which is where we see पाकिस्तानी की जो पाकिस्तानियों की ISI है. आज दोपहर में मैंने इसके बारे में बात करी थी, that पाकिस्तानी ISI has been preparing ISKP एज एन ऑल्टरनेटिव फैक्शन जो तालिबान के साथ लड़ सके, ताकि उनको थोड़ा सा लेवरेज निकाल सकें और वो टीटीपी के अगेंस्ट में कुछ एक्शन करें. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's not a geolocationary thing again. It is a localized affair. अब वो ISKP है, so KP के लिए है वो,
Hmm.
and
And
KP is
ये
the
अभी
same for
बढ़ेंगे,
ये अभी
ये अभी
बढ़ेंगे.
बढ़ेंगे, because
Absolutely, absolutely,
Pakistan has got very cozy with United States. So their focus is now going to be probably completely on ISKP. So what they did
absolutely,
to Taliban at one point in time is what they are now going to do to ISKP now.
absolutely. So ये this is a very interesting thing आपने जो बताया. I think that is the biggest insight that I'm going to take from the show. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure talking to you, and hope to see you
Thank you
back
so much,
very, very
Bharat.
soon. Jai
Thank
Hind.
you. Jai Hind.